Here we're going to begin to talk about inflammation, the fire that burns within. Every fire needs four things to start. It needs a kindling to catch the fire. It needs a heat source to start the fire. It needs fuel for the fire to continue to burn, and it needs oxygen to feed it. Your body's fuel consists of the immune system, which is your kindling, your cells, which are the fuel, the free radicals are the heat source, and oxygen comes from the blood. Free radicals can come from within or from without. They're the spark that starts the fire, and they're the source of heat that keeps the fire burning. Your cells and membranes are lipids, which are oils. We all know how hot oil fires get. They're very difficult to put out once they start. Proteins, those are the structures of the cells. That's like burning wood. And your cytoplasm is the fluid that holds the nutrients and the oxygen for the fire to burn. The two cells that are the most important in the immune system are the macrophages, which are resident within the tissues. They have three major functions. They present antigens, those are your antibodies. They eat cells, or your foreign invaders, and they modulate the immune system through the production of various chemicals to call other cells to their aid. Then there's mast cells that create the allergic response. Immune response has two different types. The cell mediator, the Th1, is where the cells typically attack a foreign invader. They try and wall it off, and they try to kill it. Th2 is the humoral, that which happens within the fluids. That's where the antibodies come in. The antibodies attach themselves to the foreign invaders. They act as markers, calling other cells to come to their aid, with a goal to kill and eliminate the foreign invader, which should be bacteria, viruses, and pathogens, but not always. The blood brings a continuous supply of oxygen and more white blood cells. The process of inflammation typically goes through a progression of the blood vessels begin to dilate. White blood cells, more white blood cells migrate into the tissues, and the white blood cells start chemical reactions, creating more free radicals, which adds to the inflammatory process. Arachidonic acid is one of the key components of the inflammatory pathway. There's two paths of arachidonic acid. The healthy one that creates muscle repair and brain health. The one that causes inflammation, when it's in check, it's okay, but when it isn't, we have problems. The pathway of arachidonic acid starts from linoleic acid. It's an omega-6 oil. It goes through a process of changes through different enzymes to turn into arachidonic acid. That will turn into prostaglandins. That turns into leukotrienes. Glutamate turns into glutamic acid, and leukotrienes turn into cytokines. The effects of inflammation are to block the protective action of insulin. That means the cells can't take up their nutrients. That increases our appetite and makes us less sensitive to insulin and causes insulin resistance. The inflammation is like a fire that burns up everything in its pathway. It creates cell membrane injury. With a membrane being injured, the organelles inside the cell are prone to being injured. The tissues lose their protection. Then the proteins within the cells can become injured. That's where the nucleus is. Your genes are stored within the nucleus. The genes make your enzymes and all the structure. It starts to change the inside structures and causes more inflammation. The inhibitors of inflammation are omega-3s. Those are typically your fish oils. Low glycemic index, that's things that don't allow your blood sugar to rise quickly. Exercise, both aerobic and resistance together. Vitamin C, B3 and 6. Minerals, zinc and magnesium, and herbs, ginger, turmeric, bioflavonoids, boswellia, and rhea.